Should we go in order?
Yes. I mean, I actually called you up and said, please don't skip any of this. It's amazing.
Well, it was too late. I'd skipped a bit of it, but I got the flavor before I started. And obviously, skippable at the start, the opening match. Again, we're back to the company mascot opening the program against Wheeler Useless in defense of his cosplay title belt. And I wrote, so they've given up before they've even started tonight. I think of all the talents in the wrestling business that never got a break to show what they could do. Or a guy like Steve Bradley comes to mind. Or the main eventers in days gone by that were outstanding performers that didn't get paid properly or had injuries derail their careers early. And a fucking joke gets a free ride and a highly paid job because he's the fucking teacher's pet. How many of the guys in the locker room do you think would like to fucking shove a goddamn infected hypodermic needle in his spine?
Oh, no, they
as
love
he walks by in catering.
No, they love him. They all say great things about him.
But they all say wonderful things about him. How many people do you think are sitting there going, I've got talent. I've got youth. I've got ability. I got a personality. Wait a minute. Now I'm thinking not many. Well, they're probably saying that to themselves, but in all seriousness, there are some talents there in the company. And they're sitting there looking at this guy getting 15 minutes to go out and jack off in a pair of fucking blue jeans and his fucking hatchet-headed haircut and his unimpressive fucking overall appearance just because the boss thinks he's cute.
And he just did an interview. I just read quotes, at least, that were going around like the day before and the day of Dynamite. He did an interview saying that he's the one who got Wheeler Yuta his job in AEW.
And so we got him for another thing to blame him for. But anyway, and I thought, can you imagine a wrestling fan waking up from a coma after 30 years? And this is the first thing they see. And they're like, what now? Wrestling has turned into bum fights with homeless guys.
You know, above any other episode or time in wrestling history, if you took someone from like the 1950s, the beginning of wrestling on television nationwide, and they traveled forward into the future and landed here and said, oh, wrestling's on. Let me see what's on national TV on wrestling. And this was the episode. I mean, that's like a mind-blowing future that you can't even imagine.
And then you think, can I go back? Even if I can't go back in time, just put me back in the fucking coma. All right, so Pockets won. And then immediately Claudio and the plumber were in and were beating him up.
Did you see Moxley's stomps?
Yes. He thinks he's Austin. He's trying to prove that theory. You can get away with shitty corner stomps if you're Steve Austin. He ain't Steve Austin. But it wasn't any worse looking than anything else because here came the Puddin' Gang. And between, who was the one guy? I think Useless was throwing fake punches that wouldn't have hurt my Aunt Lola. And they just all flail their arms and legs about. They're not even trying. They think if everybody's in motion, people won't focus on any one part of it to see that it's obviously phony and they're not trying. And then out come the Lucha Brothers and Alex, and they had more fake fighting. And there was a standoff for a minute where I guess they're the baby faces. They cleared the ring and the BBC grabbed chairs and nothing happened. And then Tony apparently screamed, play Kingston's music. And then Kingston came out and had a sloppy fight with Claudio, and everybody started the sloppy fight again. And the BBC bail out and go back out into the people. They're such hot heels, they just stand there. Nobody attempts anything. And Kingston challenges for a stadium stampede match between whoever was in the ring and whoever was out on the floor. And I think he said, get you a couple of friends. And they're going to have it at Wembley Stadium. Oh, joy. They did, what the fuck? We'll just have a stadium stampede match for no fucking reason whatsoever with fucking preliminary guys involved because we're in a stadium and it's 5-on-5, and that way there's more no rules bullshit to please all of these people that are coming thinking they're going to see a fucking wrestling event. Your thoughts, Mr. Plummer?
Joke's on you. You know, the match, I didn't really care. I didn't watch the match. I have to be honest. This is the one thing I
No,
did
you
skip
can't.
through.
You can't.
But the post-match, again, I watch Moxley now because I'm convinced he can't do anything. So I watch him, and you watch these stomps, and they look awful. And I remember, like, as a kid doing stomps on my friends on the front lawn.
Yeah.
And every one of those kids from summer camp had better stomps than John Moxley did here. It looked really bad. And then, again, it's one thing if it was like,
you forget, I've seen a lot of people literally on their first day of wrestling school. Not as a joke. I've seen that. And most of them were better than that.
And again, what is this setting up? It's not Orange Cassidy. Remember, briefly, he was like teaming with Darby Allin every week. Darby has 2 other feuds to work on, so he can't be in a third one right now. It's him with, as you call them, the Puddin' Gang. What is that? The best friends. Nobody wants to see that. You're forcing this thing. They had a match on Rampage that a very small audience watched, but it was the biggest one for Rampage in a while. And now they're doing their...
Well, and they had the ultimate garbage match wrestling, you know, in the parking lot and whatever the fuck. And now they want to try to top that with more shit that will just wear the poor folks in Wembley out before they see the matches they actually paid to see.
I have to say, I've never been a fan of the Stadium Stampede, but this has to be the least anticipated one ever, right? The least demand for one. You don't even know who the opponents are.
10 days ahead of time. Nobody's going to want to see it now that they know who's in it, but anything that's announced 10 days ahead of time would not be highly anticipated. You can't highly anticipate, boy, as soon as I walk across this street, a bread truck's going to run me over. You don't have a lot of time to anticipate that.
Who's going to be the Blackpool Combat Club's multiple surprise members? Will Danielson be back?
No, he apparently they could be kayfabing everybody, but a broken arm, and why would you? Oh, let's get one of the most biggest stars, most valuable members of the roster. He's just recovering from a broken arm. Let's put him in a fucking 10-man garbage match. You wouldn't do that anyway if you were not insane, which that doesn't preclude Tony, but
there you go.
I'm going for Renee Moxley Good. I think she'd be a good partner on the other side.
Interesting.
She'd probably like the BBC. But 20 minutes into this program was, again, basically every indie wrestler's wet dream. Are you wheezing over there?
I'm laughing at whatever it is you said.
I don't know what I said, and I'm sure it was entirely accurate.